Welcome back to our continuing education series with New Century Planning Associates. And Bob, do we have a dynamic and, may I say, mysterious topic that we're going to be talking about today, and that is the wonderful world of crypto. And Bob, I'll hand it to you to intro our wonderful guest today.
Great, thank you, Mark. Yeah, it's an exciting field. I want to introduce Litecoin Jonny. Jon Moore has been an entrepreneur in the payments field, John, for what, 20 years at least?
Yep, close to 20 years.
So you've been on the front line. So you've seen the processing of money change, credit cards, debit cards, PayPal, Venmo, and obviously now we have Bitcoin and Litecoin being accepted by various entities. So tell us how you found out or how you became interested in or where did you gain your expertise in the crypto field? Was it a natural evolution for you a few years ago?
Yeah, for me, it was a natural evolution of working in the payments field. So I had started hearing about Bitcoin in like 2012, 2013, and I didn't pay any mind to it when I first heard about it. But there was a lot of fraud in like 2013 to 2015 timeframe. So as I was in the regular payments world, so as I saw a lot of this fraud, I really started opening my eyes up to, man, there's a lot of problems in the legacy financial system. So when I was re-hit with the whole Bitcoin concept and idea in about 2016, I really gravitated towards it because I was like, wait a minute, what is this? And I realized that this solves all the problems I was seeing of fraud in the merchant payments world. Chargebacks are the big bad word. So I saw Bitcoin as a solution to the problem. And so my interest came from that. It did not come from wanting to make money at it. It came from the actual use and utility that Bitcoin and cryptocurrency offers.
Okay, so let's follow up on that because I agree with you and people don't realize. Can you explain briefly what the blockchain is and why that's why is Bitcoin a superior form of changing money or purchasing and storing value?
Sure. So Bitcoin, like I said before, it's a invention, right? It's a super important invention. What the invention is, they developed a way to send money from point A to point B without A knowing B and to transfer it across the internet. So there's never been, this problem has never been solved in the history of money, period. So in the paper currency world, there's counterfeit notes. In the world of banks with checking accounts, you have people writing fake checks. In the credit card world, we see a lot of credit card fraud. And to the businesses on the street, these are known as chargebacks. This is where they get the money taken back from them. So Bitcoin solved that because you could send value from point A to point B without the charge being reversed. You know that it's final. So it's a very effective form of payment, especially if you're the person receiving the value, to know that, hey, this payment is not going to get stripped back from you at a later date and time, which is very important because as a business, you could be selling goods to somebody that's in another country. You don't know the person. We are going into more of a digital world, more of a faceless world. So you don't always know your customer. And you do need a trustworthy form of payment. So that's really where Bitcoin steps in. The other side of the coin that's actually a little cliche, seeing Bitcoin, but I started really questioning how did the financial system, not how did it work, but how did it continue onwards? Because I was seeing so much fraud. It was a tidal wave of fraud. I went home every night scratching my head. And I said, how does this system last? Because it just seems like they make everybody whole because nobody that works in the financial world seems to care about the fraud. And how are they ever going to stop this? And then I started really questioning the money that we use. How does it have its value? And then when I realized Bitcoin's limited in supply, I was like, wow, that's a really good store of value. So I bought into the store of value aspect, but first and foremost was that payments aspect.
So let's follow up on that. You said a couple important things there. The blockchain is an open distributed ledger, so you can track all the transactions. The middleman can't cheat here, so it's secure. And I think there's a misunderstanding. There's a lot of, Lou and I are frustrated, to be honest with you. I've told you this before. We meet at the conference table. If we even mention crypto, sometimes people don't want to hear about it. They think it's a scam, it's negative. And I would just say, and Mark and I had this conversation before we came on, it started out beads and seashells were money. And then it became pieces of metal, shiny piece of metal. And then you don't have to carry that. You can do paper. And then the paper became plastic. And I would say, John, 1960, when we had, the first one, Diners Club or American, the first, credit cards, people said, wait a minute, I could buy a couch with this piece of plastic? Yeah, you can. So that took a while. So I would say to you, do you think the negativity towards Bitcoin is because it's still relatively new, it's very misunderstood, there's a lot of negativity? I would say, and we'll get into this, I think part of the negativity is that the central banks of the world, it's a threat to their whole system. And not only is it new, but they want to discourage people from using it or learning about it. Wouldn't you agree?
I 100% agree. Bitcoin is a lot different than a security or a stock because you can actually take ownership of it and use it for this payments aspect. And that's really what scares them because they have total control over stock market securities, where Bitcoin, the fact that people can transfer it in what we call a decentralized manner, that means the payments can't be censored or stopped. So that's a very scary thought to central banks and governments. The other thing is you brought up about the blockchain, that it's a digital public ledger. The blockchain is the best accountant in the world because you can see everything that goes on. So part of what I think is that a lot of governments and central banks are afraid of this because if the technology totally goes to this, where everybody's using money that's on a blockchain, kind of their ruse is up. They can't fool us like they've been. We're going to be able to see what they're doing. So I think that's another really important fact, that for them to keep manipulating everything, they can't have blockchain because it's so transparent. So yeah, there's a lot of misinformation out there. They want to distract the public. It's a little bit scary to people at first because it's so much different than what they're used to. They're used to someone else controlling all of their money for them. And this lets you take sovereignty as the individual. And that is a scary thought for a lot of people. And the news media is doing a fabulous job of tainting the crypto space and to put a bad light on what's going on. So they've really been effective at trying to scare people away from this. And I feel like that's all by design.
Yeah, I want to take a second and talk about this because I think perhaps one of the major reasons is why more folks aren't getting into it is because they're being dissuaded. And whether that information is correct or not, let's lump it into the world of ignorance. I don't know if it's great, I don't know if it's bad, but because I don't know, I'm not going to get myself invested. So, Jonny, first of all, thank you for being on the program with us today. If I was a new investor, I've never done crypto before, and first of all, how many crypto choices are there? Okay, I imagine there's quite a few. I have no idea. But would you recommend a dozen, half a dozen? Do you think they're all good, some to stay away from? I'll throw it over to you, Jonny.
So there's right now, if you go to CoinMarketCap, they show over 20,000 cryptocurrencies that exist. Most of them I wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. Now, I would stick in the top 100 in terms of market cap. Those are where your winners are most likely going to be. I'm really partial to Bitcoin and Litecoin. Bitcoin and Litecoin are commodity money in the same manner as silver and gold. So what I mean by that, there's actually a cost of creation a lot of cryptocurrencies are really kind of like a security that does use blockchain technology, but there's a company behind it and they created it all. So there's no cost of creation. To create one Bitcoin, it costs thousands and thousands of dollars. I think probably an average around the world, it probably costs $12,000 in terms of computational power and electrical energy and resources to go in to create one Bitcoin. That gives it a floor, that gives it an actual value, just like any other commodity out there: oil, gold, silver, sugar. These things they're not free. So that's really why I'm partial to Bitcoin and Litecoin, because they have that cost of creation and they're totally decentralized. There's going to be a lot of other winners in the top 100. Ethereum is probably the other biggest cryptocurrency that's out there besides for Bitcoin. Ethereum is the leader in what they call smart contracts. So these are, there's so much stuff being built off these smart contracts. This is where you see a lot of these NFTs that had a big craze, and a lot of these decentralized applications. They're all built on Ethereum. So, most likely Ethereum's going to be a winner. There's going to be a lot of other ones in that top 100, but like I said, I like sticking to Bitcoin and Litecoin because I know where I stand with them. They're limited in supply. They were launched fairly, meaning nobody got any awarded to them at the start. They all used what's called mining, proof of work mining, and mining is how certain cryptocurrencies are created, and that mining uses a lot of electrical energy. And to me, that's a really important thing, because that's the security of the network, and that's what gives it its value. So, but yeah, a lot of the cryptocurrencies that are out there, again, if you look at coin market cap and it's not in the top 100, I would probably stay away from it, especially as a new investor. Unless you're really advanced in crypto and know what you're doing and you're going to move in and out fast, I would just stick to that top 100.
Just a couple quick questions because we're running out of time. As we speak, Bitcoin is around 23,000, and we hear all the time it's way down from its highs. But that kind of amuses us because if we go back 4 or 5 years, Bitcoin has beaten the S&P 500 by a mile. And it's I think, the single best investment in the history of mankind. If you go back to its origin, you probably know the story of the pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoins. Tell me, for people who've never done this before, they're used to buying stocks or bonds or mutual funds on an exchange. How do they buy Bitcoin? How do they buy Litecoin? It's on an exchange, isn't it?
Yep, they buy in a similar manner. There's cryptocurrency-based exchanges. The most popular in the United States is something called Coinbase. Everybody's heard of PayPal. PayPal is a crypto exchange. You could buy 4 cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin and Litecoin are 2 of those. So very similar process to buying traditional stocks. The only difference is with cryptocurrencies, it gives you the opportunity to take actual possession of it yourself. And that means holding it in a digital wallet, where with traditional stocks, there's always a custodian that holds it for you. So there's a lot of concern with rehypothecation of assets. What that means is, have they sold more shares of a stock than actually exist out there? Many people feel they have, because there's no way to validate what's going on. You can't actually take possession of it. And the crypto world, you can send your Bitcoin that you buy off of the exchange and into your own private wallet. That means you are the custodian. You are the one that's responsible. But as far in terms of buying it and selling it, very similar to like using like a TD Ameritrade
on an exchange,
like
right?
That.
So this real fast, the concept of a digital wallet, I think all Americans are going to need to learn how to do this. The government has some plans for them on the digital wallet. So I think that's a very good point. You have control on your cell phone. It's not at some custodian. Real quick, do you think the governments of the world, whether it's the United States or China or Nigeria, can they stop Bitcoin or Litecoin? Can they make it illegal?
They can't stop it at all, because essentially on its face, all Bitcoin and Litecoin is a decentralized messaging system. It's a way to send a message from point A to point B across the internet. So to stop it, they would actually have to shut down the internet, which no country is going to shut down the internet. Everything runs on the internet. What they can do is make it harder to buy, harder to sell, and they could police the on-ramps and off-ramps more. And they can make that a lot harder.
Which is the exchanges, yeah.
As they make that a lot harder, it'll open up the underground economy a lot more for this stuff. And as we've seen with everything in the history of the world, look at alcohol. When they did prohibition, the price of alcohol rose. Look at drugs. When they make them illegal, the price rises. So all they would probably do is raise the price of it on the street and on the, on kind of like the black market or the open market or whatever. So yeah, they can't make it illegal. They could just make it harder to use, but they cannot stop the actual Bitcoin network in any way, shape, or form. It would be impossible for them to stop the network.
Last question along these lines. We've been hearing a lot lately about a CBDC, central bank digital currency. Frankly, it alarms me greatly because it's the government controlling electronically what we spend our money on. What is your take on CBDC? I know China, I think, is in the lead, and the United States is right behind us, behind them. Are you concerned about CBDCs, and what effect would that have? Would it cause Bitcoin and Litecoin to rise because people would put more money into gold, silver, and other non-dollar holdings such as Bitcoin?
So it's twofold. It would be really bullish for Bitcoin and Litecoin and certain cryptos because it would kind of validate them to the public. And also a CBDC system would be compatible with Bitcoin and Litecoin. Meaning right now you're looking at the legacy financial system. So you're trying to put a square peg into a round hole because cryptocurrency it's a new technology, blockchain-based technology that runs on the internet. So as we go to a system that's similar, the two systems are going to be compatible. So it's going to be a lot easier to move money in and out. The CBDC will have instant settlement. The issue is there's a term called programmable money, and the CBDC is going to be programmable money. Now, all cryptocurrencies are programmable, but the difference is with Bitcoin and Litecoin, they're decentralized, where with the CBDC, the central bank and the governments are going to program them against us, against we the people. So how could they do this? Well, for starters, they'll make the money have a timer on it. They may issue you a CBDC and it'll be like a voucher. It'll be like Coles Cash. It'll expire in 2 months. Now they can pick winners and losers in that system. They can say, hey, people that don't have as much money will get longer to hold it versus, or maybe they'll give them interest. They might say, hey, you have more money. You're going to get a less time to spend it and no interest or negative interest or whatever it is. They're also going to be able to stop your transactions and they're going to be able to see everywhere that you spend your money. So it's a very scary thought, but it will be bullish for the price of cryptocurrencies.
Okay. All right, we've run out of time, but that's compelling. So we're alarmed at it, but it is bullish for the cryptos. By the way, I wore my Bitcoin tie today. I have a Litecoin tie. You are Jonny Litecoin. I should have worn it. I apologize, but at least I got a Bitcoin tie on for you.
Oh, I love Bitcoin and Litecoin, so whatever you want to wear that's Bitcoin, I'm happy with it.
Very good. John, thank you so much for enlightening us. Appreciate the time.
Hey, John, can we have you back on the program sometime?
Yeah, love to. Thanks a lot for having me on, guys.
Great. Thank you, sir.
Bob, thanks so much. Hey, if you want more information about this incredible, mysterious topic, crypto, give us a call in the office. We'd love to start a conversation with you. And for the great folks at New Century Planning Associates, they want to make sure you retire well.